Broadcasting from Now Media Network's headquarters in Houston, this is Purple Politics, hosted by political expert and commentator Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Join us to discuss the most important issues affecting our nation with fresh, balanced, and objective discussion on the first bilingual media network in the United States. Purple Politics starts right now.
Welcome back to another episode of Purple Politics, where we are continuing to ride this historic, wonky world of politics, which is election 2024. Kamala Harris picked her vice presidential running mate of Tim Walz. And Kamala's strategy for securing the blue wall, is this risky? Who knows? So Kamala Harris's strategy is to secure that blue wall, which are the states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And within this calculated decision to pass over the popular Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, which, by the way, you could hear a collective sigh of relief from the Republican Party on that Passover, in favor of the lesser-known Minnesota governor, the good old coach, Tim Walz. Harris believes that Walz's broad appeal will ultimately benefit the campaign despite his lower profile compared to Shapiro. This move is seen as a gamble, as the success of this choice could significantly influence the outcome in these crucial swing states, but as well as other swing states. Because remember, though you have 28% registered voters that are Democrats, the bulk are still independents. So as Harris and Walz continue their campaign tour, which they have been doing since Monday with resounding, Trump-like events, 15,000 plus people attending, they are being warmly received. This has been a huge, huge booster shot to the arm to the Democratic Party and also to their base. You see enthusiastic crowds in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and Detroit, Michigan, following a similar response in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, being kicked off by the very popular Governor Shapiro. The events highlighted the renewed energy within the Democratic Party since Harris became the party's standard bearer. Walz's speeches focused on his working class background and criticized the Republican ticket, while Harris's emphasized the strategic importance of these states in the upcoming election. The tour also featured local cultural elements, such as performance by the indie rock band Bon Iver in Eau Claire, and further energizing the supporters. But despite the positive atmosphere at these campaign events, there were brief disruptions, such as the protests against the White House's handling of the Israel-Hamas conflict, more specifically pro-Palestinian groups, causing disruptions within the within this event. And these incidents were quickly managed following the campaign to maintain its focus on engaging with voters in key states. A key concern for the Harris campaign is how Walz will be received in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, which together hold 44 electoral votes. The campaign is betting on Walz's appeal to the working class and independent voters, drawing on his military veteran background and being a former football coach. And also, let's face it, they swapped out one grandfather to a fatherly figure. They plan to highlight his success in winning a Republican-leaning congressional district. However, there are some negatives on Walz. Harris, who is rebranding herself as a moderate, if you want to buy that, you can. I doubt it. The Biden-Harris administration, as it has been stated over and over again since 2021 when they took over, has been extremely progressive. Kamala Harris has a reputation as senator as being the most liberal, most progressive senator. She's even more left of Bernie Sanders. And on top of that, her run in 2020 for the Democratic National candidacy was extremely progressive. Now she picks a running mate in Walz who is even more progressive than she is. And the voters, the Democratic voters' reactions are mixed with Walz. I mean, you have some Democrats like Erie, Pennsylvania resident Connie Kuznicki expressing initial hesitation, then have become more optimistic about Walz's potential to balance the ticket's appeal. I mean, obviously, he's 60. He's younger than Trump, a little old. Well, he's 20 years older than Vance. White, Hunter, supposedly has that, Papa coach type of OG type of attitude. But one of the things they're going to have to overcome is his progressiveness. And that skepticism remains in some quarters, like Superior, Wisconsin, close to Walz's home state. You have Percy Cole, who criticized Walz's handling of 2020 riots in the Twin Cities. I mean, in fact, you're seeing the mayor of Minneapolis coming out on again, trying to defend himself because, let's face it, Walz threw him under the bus, saying he never asked for National Guard. He was the reason why Minneapolis burned during those fateful riots that caused billions of dollars of damage. Buildings being burned down, businesses being lost, people dying. And in fact, the mayor has provided emails, texts, even further telephone call proof that he was begging for National Guard to no avail for several days. And then, of course, there's the rumors that Walz's own wife during the 2020 riots was like, was glorifying that you could smell the tires burning and hearing the roar and hearing the damage because this is going to be a new civil rights movement. When your own biggest city is being looted, good seasoned taxpayers were losing their businesses. That is something that is going to have to be overcome. Also, questions about his military background. He wants to say that he was a war veteran, which in fact he came after the Gulf War had already ended, the first Gulf War. And as such. So who is Tim Walz and why all of a sudden this sudden rise to becoming the running mate for VP? After the 2022 midterms, the political landscape appeared settled. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris expected to lead the Democratic ticket in 2024, which was true. Even though Biden did campaign in 2020 that he was going to be a one-term president. Maybe if he stuck with it, we would have had a real primary for the Democrats because we would have seen maybe the likes of a Shapiro, Mayor Pete, and others come forward and not have a hand-selected picked Democrat, which is VP Kamala Harris. Also, it kind of proves, by the way, everybody's like, oh, this is so amazing. Kamala Harris is pulling off this amazing campaign, with only 2 weeks of knowing. Do you really buy that it's been that skeptical? But Walz and his team have been quietly devising a strategy since 2020 to make his star rise. Much like Kamala and her campaign is not a surprise. I mean, face it, everybody, we all had to have a plan B. Everybody was criticizing Biden was too old. Biden was 82 or is 82 now. He would have been 86 if he did another term. I mean, they always had to have a plan B. And they had even more strategizing since that debacle of a debate. But Tim Walz's evolution is amazing. How his team has propelled him to make sure that after the 2022 midterm elections, he was seen more as a front person. He was speaking before there. He was touting his record of flipping once a red congressional district to blue when he won. Now, what's also interesting, though, and this is going to have to be discussed, it's going to have to dealt with, and if and when Kamala and Walz actually allow for a news conference where media can ask questions, because they both have to answer questions. Tim Walz started off as a moderate Democrat, but he became, to win that congressional spot. He has now become an extreme progressive champion. I mean, he has championed late term, we're talking extreme abortion rights in Minnesota. He has now made Minnesota a safe haven so that if children run away and want to have sex reaffirming treatment, they can go to Minnesota. He's also, and that was much to the chagrin of the voter base of the average Minnesota resident. I mean, he compromised. Maybe he'll compromise. He claims to be able to compromise, but bottom line is, I'm sorry, but the Democrats want to paint that Midwesterners are Democrats are as progressive can be, and we just want a working guy who can be out there and get those blue collar workers back in line. But the reality is no, it's not. We are not a progressive led party. I mean, I say that as if I'm a part of the party, excuse me, but it is in the polls, in what you have seen in the reactions, especially when, to quote Kamala back in the day, woke is woke and everybody needs to be woke and woke. Everybody has retaliated against that. The vast majority of us in the United States don't want progressive values, because no matter how you box and put the pretty bow and wrap it up and say, oh, it's progressiveness, or it's socialism, or it's a revolución para los empleados, or something like that, it's Marxism. It is a deterioration of the very rights that we have. And it's also a progression of us losing an ability to choose for ourselves and potentially harm middle class business, small business owners and such. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But the bottom line is now we have a ticket where we have a 59-year-old and a 60-year-old that are engaging. They are inspiring the base, and I will applaud the DNC, the Democratic Party. Bravo. You have proven you can plug and play, because that is bottom line what this is, without having a true barring a true primary where we could have seen other candidates come forward. You have basically plugged and played. They have chosen who your leader is going to be. They have put it in, and it would not matter if it was Kamala. They would have put Mayor Pete. They could have plugged in Shapiro, what have you. It's still the same thing. So I will say this, Republican Party, you better take witness to this, because the Democrats know what they're doing. But we're going to see how this is, and how long this honeymoon, this love fest for Kamala will last. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to talk more political campaign news from the Trump camp. We'll see you right back.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-367-1753. That's 800-367-1753.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Harris's rise and her sudden surge within massive assemblies, 15,000 people showing up, and the fact that she is having huge fundraising numbers, that is making the Trump camp very, very, very concerned, and with good reason. But one of the things that is most particularly amusing is the unsettling of Trump, who is struggling to focus. He is having issues. And let's face it, this is his campaign to lose, because the Trump that came out in those first 30 minutes of his acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention, that is the Trump that needs to be out on the campaign trail. But what we have seen since cut that last hour of the camp of that speech, plus every single rally he's had, he has gone down the tubes. And why? Because Kamala Harris is being seen by mega media as the next coming of the savior. That's basically how it is, because the love fest is unbelievable. Trump isn't really breaking much news. And Trump, ridiculously, is intensifying his attacks on Vice President Kamala Harris with derogatory social media posts, which are going to flop. You're attacking a multiracial, biracial, Black, Indian woman, and you're going to go on identity politics and attack her. You go before the Black Journalist Convention and start bashing her. Why? Who cares? Who cares if she celebrated that she was the first Indian to be elected as senator? Because guess what? It was true. Her parents are both of Indian descent. Her father is Jamaican. Who cares? Because the bottom line is that his campaign are being rattled because they had a strategy and Trump has derailed that strategy. Now, what does Trump have to do? Stop doing things like this, labeling Harris as low IQ. She's an attorney. She is extremely well accomplished. Is she the best speaker? No. Is she condescending? Yes. Does she come off as pretentious? Absolutely. Does she talk to audiences like they're 5 years old and does a rhyming sign and sound like they're idiots to explain that a rocket that's tipped like this goes above in the clouds? Yes, she has done all of this. She is not an idiot. She is not low IQ. The problem with her is her likability. She has a challenge with likability because she does come off as very condescending. Woman to woman, lawyer to lawyer. She is condescending. But Trump is a bombastic fool at this point. I mean, calling her dumb, claiming she lacked the mental capacity to debate him. One of the things, and Kamala just proved it at the most recent assembly that she had, when the pro-Palestinian protesters and started screaming out and yelling at her, she came back and she said, "I'm speaking to you now. This is my turn. I heard you. You need to be quiet. It's my turn." She thrives on the ability to stop the mayhem and be able to debate. If anything, that's probably her one good quality or positive quality that she has. But you know what? The bottom line is this isn't about who she is. It's about what policy stands for and what policies Trump stands for. And so Trump, you know, he's not going to take it from me probably because he doesn't really listen to his own advisors unless they're yes people. Trump's best course of action from this point, we are less than 90 days. We're just shy of 90 days of election day. 30 days early voting will begin in most states. So it's time to course correct. Go toe to toe about policies. Attack the fact that Kamala is a hugely progressive person and that she has criticized ICE and referenced them to the KKK, that she was the one who believes that there should be open borders and that all of these illegal aliens, undocumented aliens, however you want to call them, should have immediate access to medical care, how she wants to blow up private insurance. So yes, you know, you should be Trump criticizing her as what the media coined her as the borders are. And by the way, she was fine with that all the way up until now, but she is in charge of the border. Biden put her in charge of the border and she has done squat. She doesn't really even go to the border. She just wants to laugh it off. Rather than focusing on personal attacks, which unfortunately that is what Trump is about. Trump's rhetoric is just about divisiveness, personal attacks, and stupid nicknames. That's who he is. And unfortunately, what Trump does is he feeds into his base. The Trump loyalists, the Trumpaholics, the Trump mania people, the MAGA, the extreme MAGA, are not going anywhere. They're loyal to you, Trump. Donald, you got them. But guess what? They only represent 28% of registered Republicans. And there may be some independents in there, but they are not enough to win you an election. So what does Trump has to do? What does his team have to do? Reframe, recalibrate, and go with the policies. It's all about the economy. It's about the border, and it's about crime. And making sure that there is enough. Now, of course, 2020, defund the police. We don't need police. It's all corrupt. We should have, you know, this. I mean, let's face it. Democratic leaders were like, yeah, let them burn down cities. It'll teach them a lesson. They didn't decry when police officers were being killed or maimed by rioters. Much worse damage than what Jan 6 did. And on top of that, let's stop talking about the damn 2020 election. You lost. You lost. Just admit it or let it go. You don't even have to admit you lost. Just stop talking about it. Let it go. Because that's another thing that everybody keeps pointing to. I mean, when you have VP Kamala Harris in 1 week raising $310 million, that's what she did in the last week of July. Maybe the last 2 weeks of July, $310 million. Now, again, much of those funds were funders who were refusing to give the money that they pledged to Biden based on the debacle of that debate in June. Now, some will say that Biden was set up. If either he was set up to fail or he was like, you know what, I'm going to prove to everybody I can keep it or lose it. And guess what? He lost it. And you know what, sadly, is nobody's really talking about Biden anymore, except for maybe Trump. So Trump needs to just let it go. And the team, Trump's team, is targeting Waltz and his military record. And, you're seeing JD Vance actually, even though I still question how great of a choice JD is, at least JD is out there. And he's actually quite comical in that, like, he showed up in the same tarmac as Air Force Two VP Kamala, and he was like making sure he talked to the news reporters, because Kamala's not like Biden. She's kind of like keeping herself in a basement, unless it's at a pre-planned rally where she has her teleprompter. But Vance is out there attacking Tim Walz's uh, stating that he is a veteran of war, of the Desert Storm War. Well, now, because everybody's been calling him out on it, and they've been showing proof that no, he was not there, they've actually changed how they titled him. He is a veteran. He's not a veteran of the war. They're also going toe to toe as to who is weirder, apparently, because Waltz called Trump and Vance weird. They're just so weird. Well, we'll see. So you got the Midwesterners duking it out in VP. You got Trump, who had a news conference today, this afternoon, where he did announce that he will have 3 debates with Kamala, and that's going to be interesting. And we're going to see, because the one thing about Trump is extremely good in high pressure moments. The downfall, though, is he loves all the attention on him. And though a lot of us have had maybe too much exposure of Trump or tired of Trump, the one thing's for sure. And look, I have friends that are extreme MAGA. This man can do no wrong. But I also have friends that, they like what he, that he's a disruptor. They like the fact, and they feel more comfortable with him because they definitely feel uncomfortable with the progressive push towards this extreme left agenda. But Trump's biggest issue is that he has to be disciplined. Right after that disastrous debate for Biden, Trump did the best thing. He laid low. He let the media and the sharks all turn against Biden. And you had Pelosi plunging the knives in the back. You had Schumer plunging the knives in the back and everything like that. He was disciplined. He was actually disciplined for a little time there, right after the failed assassination attempt. So now is the time for him to turn around. He did have the news conference. He did state that he is recommitting to debating Harris on ABC, even though he doesn't like it. The other ones are Fox, where Kamala backed out of the Fox News, which was previously set between the Biden camp. So we're going to continue to watch this. But one thing is for sure. Trump has to get his poop together, to put it nicely. He needs to become disciplined. He needs to start looking at this strategically, because the same personal attacks that he could get away with on Biden, that Biden's too old, Biden's incompetent, is not going to work with Kamala. And on top of that, Donald, you are trying to attract voters in the independent realm. 43% of registered voters are non-party or independently classified. Therefore, you need to appeal to them. And one of your biggest issues is with white suburban females. And they're right now, yes, the rallying cry, if you're a woman, you should vote for Kamala. No, you don't. You vote for the best candidate who you support their agenda and what you feel is the best for this nation. But the one thing is for sure, by saying that she's an idiot, she's dumb, she has a low IQ, and attacking her on whether she doesn't even know if she's Black or Indian, is ridiculous. And honestly, if I were JD's wife, I would be highly offended with some of the rhetoric that's coming out of that man's mouth. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. And then we'll say what other things Trump's campaign may need in a bolster, because Harris is, for the first time, we're seeing Harris winning in the polls. Again, honeymoon stage, who knows? Tune right back in. I can't wait to talk about a squad.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Okay, and back on the what Trump's campaign needs. So let's dial it back a little bit. So Trump is experiencing a much better position than compared to 2020, regardless. And the reality is the polls, when they're head to head, they're pretty much even. Harris and Trump are even, but the reality is they're not head to head. It's not just Harris and just Trump. There are other candidates. More importantly, there is the RFK factor, the independent candidate. You know, the ones that people think that he's going to be the other Ross Perot to potentially Trump's campaign. See, if you look at Trump's numbers in the polling, demographically, he's doing much better than in 2020. I mean, he really is. So there's still an opportunity for Trump to correct his positioning. Now, one of the things that has happened, though, and this is something that has negatively impacted RFK Jr.'s, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s presidential bid, is that when Biden was still the candidate, the presumptive candidate for the Democratic Party, in their ticket, he was enjoying 15%, 10% polling. And the reality is of those that were polling for RFK, more were coming from the Trump side than the Harris or the Biden side, but there was a significant number from Biden. So state and national polls indicate that independent candidate RFK Jr. is drawing more votes from Donald Trump than Kamala, which could negatively impact Trump's chances in the upcoming election. A Fox News survey of Pennsylvania voters shows that when third-party candidates are included, 10% of Trump supporters switch to another candidate, compared to 7% of Harris's supporters. This gives Harris a slight 2-point lead over Trump, which, by the way, 2% really isn't much when you have a 3% error rate. What that basically means is if any one party is going to win or one individual is going to win, the polls need to be greater than 3%. And you still have a slight 2%, that 2-point lead with Kennedy taking 7% of the vote. In a head-to-head race without third-party candidates, Harris and Trump are tied, each with 49% of the vote. And experts believe that Trump has a strong incentive to encourage Bobby to drop out of the race, as Kennedy's candidacy is more detrimental to Trump than to Harris. This is also backed by University of Massachusetts Amherst poll showing that 29% of Kennedy voters would support Trump in a direct matchup compared to 26% for Harris. So despite his family's long, historic, deep-seated roots in the Democratic Party, Kennedy has garnered more support from Republicans, which has helped him in the polls. Since Harris became the nominee, though, Kennedy's poll numbers have dropped significantly from 14 to 16% to around 5.7%. This decline suggests that his appeal may have been partly driven by dissatisfaction with the prospect of a Trump and Biden rematch, which, as we have discussed numerous times on this show, nobody really wanted that. You had over 57% of those polled saying, we do not want this rematch. And let's face it, you had one old dude going against another old dude, so we're going to have a slightly more vigorous, more energized older man running, which is Bobby. But given Kennedy's failing polls, some experts believe he may not stay in the race for much longer. There are already rumors that Trump campaign is working behind the scenes to persuade Kennedy to drop out, as his presence in the race is seen as a liability for the Donsters, for the Donald. Speculation about Kennedy's potential withdrawal, fueled by reports of a meeting between Kennedy and Trump, that infamous recorded telephone call, and also there's a bunch of rumors. But the bottom line is he hasn't dropped out. We're going to see. Only time will tell. But there are other supporters of Kennedy saying maybe it is time to call it in, because what was surging for him in the beginning was the division between Biden and Trump. People see him as still refreshing because he kind of comes out as a breath of fresh air. He doesn't attack anybody personally. Actually, he's a really nice guy. He's showing class, something that we have long missed in this election cycle, which we have long missed really since probably 2016, if not before. No, 2016. Let's just say 2016. I mean, yes, Pelosi would throw barbs, but I personally think she's just a vitriolic person. But RFK has always been above the board. And in fact, he's so above the board that Joe Rogan just came out and endorsed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. What that will do for his campaign, who knows? Joe Rogan has a lot of followers. People listen to his podcast. He has one of the biggest podcasts ever. Will that give a push towards Kennedy? Who knows? But the bottom line is I agree with Joe. Here's a man that doesn't do personal attacks. He goes on policy and he says why he believes in the way that the direction of the United States needs to be shifted. And then Dun, 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 dun. Another squad member goes down. So as we are seeing a hugely progressive ticket at the head of the Democratic ticket, Kamala and Waltz. VP Kamala Harris with the coach Waltz, both hugely progressive, even though Kamala wants to say that she's a moderate now. I don't buy it. I don't think you guys should either, but you know what? That's my opinion. You have your own way of assessing this. But Cori Bush went down. She is KO. She is defeated in Missouri in the Democratic primary, becoming the second House squad member to lose her seat. So remember, Cori Bush is a hugely progressive member of the House squad. And she was the one decrying to fund the police, as she was spending millions for personal security because she was so important and she needed protection because she didn't want to be a subject to crime. So this defeat she lost to Wesley Bill, a St. Louis County prosecuting attorney. And this is a significant victory. You know what? Everybody wants to say, oh, it's a significant victory because they want to say it's because of the AIPAC, this pro-Israeli group. But you know what this really calls? It's a significant victory for moderate Democrats, for traditional Democrats who are saying enough is enough. Our party's been taken over. We want to go back to where we, the people, are being represented. Because let's face it, the squad, they are pushing some major rhetoric, and they always have. But even like their pro-Palestinian, anti-Israeli stance, Israel, our most steadfast ally in the Middle East. I mean, it's whether or not, and this is New York Times and CNN and MSNBC are all saying, oh, this is because of the pro-Israeli group. How about this? Maybe people are fed up. I wish the people would get so fed up that they would basically say to the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, and the Republican National Committee, you know what? Enough is enough. We want our own third party. This is why I started the show, because you know what? We, the people, are not in charge anymore. Our forefathers created the United States so that it was governed for the people, by the people. That's why we weren't supposed to have career politicians in Congress. Remember the hypocrisy that Biden wants term limits on SCOTUS and federal judges? BS. When you serve 50 years in government, when it's not supposed to, first start with the House. Also, our founding fathers never wanted the congressional members to have a yearly salary. They wanted them to have a per diem. Why do they do that? Because they didn't want this, what is happening. But Bell, you go. You congratulations. No, I'm not. I'm purple on this because I'm not progressive. I'm tired of the Freedom Caucus too. So congratulations to Bell securing 51.2% of the vote compared to Bush's 45.6% with 99% of the votes counted. Bush had spent much of her campaign defending herself against accusations of breaking with her party too often, particularly on issues with U.S. involvement in Gaza. Bottom line is, Bush was card-carrying, placard, actually decrying that maybe violence is a good thing, especially during the riots of 2020, and saying how horrible and demonizing MAGA are. Not all MAGA are demonized. They're not evil. I promise you, they are good people. They just believe in something. But the one thing is for sure, when Bush was coming out on the TV saying that police needed to be defunded, we need to destroy the police departments, that we shouldn't be doing this, but yet, I need to be protected. Hypocritical. But the bottom line is, this is not a victory for any type of PAC. What this is the destruction of the squad, because what we are seeing are moderates are standing up. And when the moderates start standing up and try to take control of their own party, maybe, just maybe, the party will start listening. But until you get those power brokers, until you get the elites, the Washington elites out of the top, because that is basically what it is. That's what you have. But I am not sorry to see Cori Bush go, because I want us to start getting to a center on both sides, so that what Congress is supposed to do is be bipartisan. They are supposed to be representing not only their constituents, but the whole of the United States. And it is not about party leadership. So long, Corey. We will not miss you when the door hits you in the ass. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll get talking about what's happening in other news in the U.S.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-367-1753. That's 800-367-1753.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Now that Daddy's no longer running for re-election, Hunter Biden is back in the news. Prosecutors in Hunter Biden's tax trial are preparing to pursue an aggressive strategy, indicating they will present evidence of foreign interests paying him to influence the U.S. government while his father was vice president. Special counsel David C. Weiss has been engaged in a legal battle with Biden's lawyers over the admissibility of evidence related to his foreign business activities and lifestyle during a period of addiction. Prosecutors have rejected efforts to exclude this evidence, signaling a confrontational approach in court. Though prosecutors have not accused Biden of violating foreign lobbying laws, they plan to introduce evidence that he engaged in foreign business dealings to avoid paying taxes. They aim to demonstrate how Biden and his business associates attempted to influence U.S. government agencies on behalf of foreign interests, such as a Romanian real estate magnate facing corruption charges. This evidence will show Biden's willful evasion of taxes on millions in income. It also still opens the door to them for other federal charges based on this foreign lobbying laws, potential of violations. The court filing also reveals that prosecutors intend to introduce evidence of Biden's business dealings with entities like Burisma, a Ukrainian gas company, and CEFC, China Energy. They allege that Biden performed little to no work for the millions he received from these entities. You know, basically he was put onto these boards, receiving a huge fat paycheck, all because of who Daddy was and the position he held in the Obama administration as VP. Hunter's legal challenges have already led to a criminal conviction tied to a gun purchase in 2018 and now faces the possibility of further legal jeopardy. Prosecutors have left open the possibility of pursuing additional charges related to foreign lobbying violations under the Foreign Agents Registration Act, which could complicate Biden's efforts to avoid prison time. The trial has potential political implications, particularly for the upcoming presidential campaign, even though Biden is no longer running for re-election. The case could create challenges for Democrats and provide an opportunity for Republicans to criticize the Biden administration, especially if we recall, Kamala Harris always said they were together in all decisions regarding the administration. Now, Hunter Biden has pled not guilty, and the presumption is he is innocent until proven guilty. But it does bring in nice fodder, and it is interesting now that Daddy is no longer running for a re-election, that he is back in the news. The reality is that, what will most likely happen is now that President Biden's no longer running for re-election, he can most likely pardon his son of all charges. And nobody would decry him of that. I mean, yes, did Hunter do tax evasion? Yes. I mean, let's face it. But Biden has been always someone who has been very committed to his family, especially to his boys, and the loss of a daughter and his wife in the one car accident, and then the loss of Bo to cancer. He holds on to his son, Hunter. So it wouldn't be surprising. Some would say infuriating, but this isn't about anything. Now, if you want to say, oh, for those that say this isn't fair, why is Hunter being run through? Some people may want to call up Wesley Snipes, who spent some time in federal prison for tax evasion. But we're going to continue to follow this because at least one, it's not about Trump. Woo! Two, it's interesting law, and so we're going to follow that. But now we're going to go to another interesting relevant facts that have come out in the news. Georgia, yes, a key state, and also one that has, been in the limelight because of Trump's accusations of faulty counting and election fraud. Georgia election rule prompts concerns of chaos and delays. The Georgia State Election Board's recent rule change has sparked significant controversy and concerns about political disruptions to the upcoming November elections. The board's new rule requires local election supervisors to conduct a reasonable inquiry before certifying final results, introducing an element of discretion and possible delays into what was previously a straightforward certification process. But based on everything that happened in 2020, and let's face it, let's set aside the Trump allegations that people still believe to this day, that was an extremely tight race. I mean, Biden only won by a smidge of votes. And so this is probably, let's take this as a good thing, taking responsibility and a reasonable inquiry. A reasonable inquiry may be just like, let's make sure that we don't have any hanging chads like in 2000 in Florida. Thank you, West Palm Beach. Or let's make sure that everything is certified correctly, that everything has been boxed and documented, and that we have the right results. Critics are arguing that this change could lead to chaos rather than enhancing the integrity of the results. However, this new rule, like Megan Bellamy, who is an opponent from the nonpartisan voting rights lab, suggests that the rule appears to be more of a power grab than a genuine effort to improve election transparency. I don't know if it is a power grab. I mean, each county has their own elected supervisor elections, and it is still under the Secretary of State. So how they do it is that, now remember, elections are solely able to be conducted by each state. It's just another moniker, because let's face it, none of us want to relive what we lived through in 2020. Let that be history. Let that be a historical learning point of what we don't want. This new requirement adds layers of scrutiny and potential delays to the certification process. But if everything goes right, it may not. Supporters of the rule believe that giving election supervisors investigatory powers will enhance transparency. They argue that this additional oversight is necessary to ensure the accuracy and integrity of the election results. The state of Georgia is once again a critical battleground in this upcoming election, with heightened scrutiny on its voting process due to its pivotal role in recent presidential races. And this measure was slimly passed by a 3-2 vote. But bottom line is, like, any improvement may go. Any improvement to the scrutiny to prevent chaos that was what was experienced in 2020 is a good thing. Now, you have Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, to find votes have led to legal challenges, criticism of election officials. Raffensperger, who was removed from the board's oversight role after the 2020 election, has previously criticized the board's handling of election issues. Critics argue that this new rule contradicts existing state law. If it did, then appeal it, set it up before the court. But the bottom line is that it's not a bad thing. It honestly isn't. All it is it's another verification process. Some will say that it exceeds its the authority and could undermine established procedures, but the bottom line is that established procedures are still up to the Secretary of State. And you just saw, Donald, Trump was in Atlanta at a rally, and oh my God, another personal attack on Republicans. By the way, Trump doesn't just go scorched earth on Harris. He was going scorched earth on Kemp, Governor Kemp, who, by the way, does not owe Trump his seat. He won his reelection by further distancing himself from Trump. So let's stay away from that. But you know what? Anything that might improve the integrity so that we do not have another Groundhog's Day moment of 2020 is a good thing. We'll see how that plays out. But the bottom line is, everybody, we need to hold on to our seats. We're still about less than 90 days, 88 days from Election Day, and it's going to get bumpy. It's going to get crazy. And I will say one thing, since the year 2000, since Gore v. Bush and the hanging chad, we have been witnessing history. I am Alina Gonzalez-Dockery. Thank you so much for joining me for yet another episode of Purple Politics. I look forward to seeing you the next episode. Well, we will be diving into even more election news. I wish you all a great weekend.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Artritis, inflamación, reuma, dolores articulares, dolores musculares, dolores, muchos dolores, una solución. Be Miracle, el milagro de vivir sin dolor. Hace más de 2400 años, los griegos descubrieron los poderes desinflamatorios de la apitoxina, el veneno de las abejas, que es 100 veces más poderosa que la cortisona, pero sin sus efectos secundarios. Be Miracle, la fórmula original con apitoxina 100% natural, el milagro de vivir sin dolor.
Yo me acostumbré a vivir con dolor y con alta presión. Fue como un milagro. Empecé a tomar la capsulita de veneno de abejas y se me calmó el dolor. Mi presión está normal y hasta el carácter me cambió.
A nosotros nos gustaba pasear, caminar, bailar, ir a la discoteca, pero nos llegó la artritis y nos lo arruinó todo. Y ahora, tomando una capsulita diaria del veneno de la abeja, volvemos a disfrutar de la vida.
Y gracias a este milagro podemos ser felices.
Be Miracle frena la artrosis, rejuvenece las articulaciones, desinflama y elimina el dolor. Ya basta de dolores musculares, ya basta de dolores articulares, ya basta de sufrir.
Con una cápsula diaria del veneno de abejas, volví a vivir sin dolores.
B-Miracle. Llame ahora y reciba 2 meses de B-Miracle en oferta especial. Ordena 2 y recibe 3 meses de tratamiento. Pero si llama ahora mismo con su orden, recibirá la crema B-Miracle de acción inmediata.